Today, I'll be talking about types of communication. Before going to the topic, types of communication, I would like to tell you the meaning and its importance. Communication is a process of exchanging information and ideas. It helps us express our ideas and thoughts to others. The exchange of information takes place through written or spoken words, symbols, or actions. Communication is the sending and receiving of information and can be one on one or between groups of people and can be face to face or through communication devices. Language involves symbols and signs and is distinct to the culture that speaks and writes in that language. Effective communication requires a shared language and understanding of common concepts. It's also important to bear in mind that a receiver may interpret what the sender puts out differently than what the sender intended, and that this is less likely if the two shares the same culture and language. Now, why is communication important? Whether you are preparing a business report, answering a phone call, or just nodding your head in approval, you are communicating in some form. Some jobs, such as those related to sales or service, may require strong interpersonal skills as a basic eligibility criteria. Hence, good communication skills help you discharge your duties more effectively. They also help you build better relationships at your workplace and increase your chances of success in your career. Now, we'll go to the types of communication. In the image projected, you can see that we have divided communication, first of all, in two broad categories. These categories are verbal communication and non-verbal communication. Further, we have divided verbal communication into two more categories, that are oral communication and written communication. Then non-verbal communication is also divided into two types, that is body language and expressive behavior. So let's understand first the verbal communication. Verbal communication refers to the form of communication in which message is transmitted verbally. Communication is done by words of mouth and a piece of writing. Verbal communication can either happen face to face or through other channels such as mobile phone, radio, and video conferencing. Thus, if your job involves conducting business meetings, giving presentation, and making phone calls, your employer would expect you to have good verbal communication skills. Objective of every communication is to have people understand what we are trying to convey. In verbal communication, remember KISS, KISS. It stands for keep it short and simple. Then oral communication. So, what does that mean by oral communication? Oral communication is communicating with spoken words. It's a verbal form of communication where you communicate your thoughts, presented ideas, and share information. Example of oral communication are conversations with friends, family, or colleagues, presentation, and speeches. Oral communication is generally recommended when the communication matter is of temporary kind or where a direct interaction is required. Face to face communication, uh, example for meetings, lectures, conferences, interviews, etc., is significant to so as to build a rapport and trust. Then, what is written communication? Written communication includes communicating through writing, typing, or printing. It is done through channels such as letters, text messages, emails, social media, and books. Business may prefer written communication because it has fewer chances of distortion. For examples, communicating a business plan in writing ensures that everyone gets the same message and can refer to it anytime in the future. The ever increasing use of computers and computer networks to organize and transmit information means the need for competent writing skill is rising. Millions of people previously not required to do a lot of writing on the job are now expected to write frequently and rapidly. Now we come to the non-verbal communication. In this type of communication, messages are relayed without the transmission of words. The message here are wordless messages. This form of communication mainly aids verbal communication. It supplements it with gestures, body language, symbols, and expressions. Through these, one may communicate one's mood or opinion or even show a reaction to the messages that are relaying. One non-verbal actions often set the tone for the dialogues. You can control and guide the communication if you control and guide the non-verbal communication. Now, what is body language? Body language is a type of communication in which physical behaviors, as opposed to words, are used to express or convey the information. Consider how your perception of people are affected by the way they sit, walk, stand, or hold their head, proxemics and haptics, communicating through touch, or their appearance. The way you move and carry yourself communicates a wealth of information to the world. This type of nonverbal communication includes your posture, hearing, stance, and the subtle movement you make. Body language plays an essential role in all forms of communication as it can help break the barriers as well as form a better connection with other individuals. The next topic I'm going to talk about expressive behavior. The term is used for those aspects of movement which are distinct enough to differentiate one individual from another. They include gesture, handwriting, facial expression, gait, posture, and voice. Facial expression, eye gaze, gestures, and tone of voice. From our handshakes to our hairstyles, nonverbal details reveal who we are and impact how we relate to other people. So, nonverbal communication plays an important role in how we convey meaning and information to others, as well as how we interpret the actions of those around us. The important thing to remember when looking at such nonverbal behaviors is to consider the action in groups. What a person actually says, along with his or her expressions, appearance, and tone of voice, might tell you a great deal about what that person is really trying to say. Now, when we talk about effective communication, what is effective communication? Communication can happen just like that also when we are talking to each other. But if we want to reach out to that person effectively through our communication, then we have to take care of few things. So, effective communication takes place when the receiver understands your message exactly the way you meant it to be understood. However, we often experience the opposite. The receivers sometimes tend to misunderstand us, and this distorts the communication process. Nevertheless, if a message is communicated with respect and consideration for the opposite person's feeling, then even if your point of view varies from the other person's, your message will not be outright rejected. The receiver will definitely give it a thought. So the last thing that I want to mention, girls, sorry, 7 C's for effective communication. What are these 7 C's for effective communication? The qualities that are essential for effective communication are called the C's of communication because most of them begin with letter C. These are 7 C's of effective communication which are applicable to both the written and the oral communication. These are as follows. First C stands for completeness. Second C, conciseness. Third C, consideration. Fourth C, clarity. Fifth C, concreteness. Sixth C, courtesy. And seventh C, correctness. More or less, you would have noted that these are all the adjectives, and their literal meaning you need to apply when you are communicating with somebody. Like, first of all, your message should be complete. Your message shouldn't be left in half, or maybe the person didn't understand you properly. Conciseness, message should always be, your communication should always be concise, to the point. Don't beat about bush. That is considered rude. You should be reaching to the person considerately. Okay, there should be clarity in your communication. Okay, it should carry concreteness, courtesy, that is very important, and the correctness. So, if you inculcate these 7 C's in your communication will be effective. So, this is all. That's all for the day. Thank you so much.